Welcome to this very special edition of the KJ Masterclass Live, the show which ensures that you profit from your time spent here with experts, either through the industry insights, information, or simply learning from them. And here we have Philip Pape, certified nutrition coach, body composition expert, and host of the Wits and Weights podcast. And we'll be talking about self-mastery of body and mind. Welcome to the show, Philip.
Thank you very much. Pleasure to be here.
Thank you. Welcome to the show. Welcome to India. And I'm sure not only in India, but everywhere else, whenever people watch this show, listen to it, they'll be able to make, a lot of do with whatever you speak at the moment, and especially about self-mastery of body and mind. First, to understand from you, Philip, you are from a techie background,
That's right.
and then you moved into nutrition and body composition expert. So
Yes.
how did that change happen? Was there any particular reason, or you just realized one fine morning that you have to do it? How did that happen?
Yeah, it's funny you mentioned I was in tech because I have a lot of friends in India and went to India myself back in 2019, just before the pandemic closed everything down. So beautiful country, had a lot of fun there down in the Bangalore region, right? So anyway, yeah, my background's in engineering, and as being an engineer, I like systems, I like efficiency, I like to figure out how to master and perform and do things systematically over time to get better and better. And I also, as a manager in the engineering world, worked with a lot of people as a mentor, as a coach, as a supervisor. And that also gave me experience in having conversations and providing feedback and listening, which is a skill I'm still working on today. Part of why I run my own podcast, it helps me develop that skill. But in about 2020, I went through, I would say, my first ever personal transformation in health and fitness that actually worked. And the reason I was able to do that is, number one, I had time because of the lockdowns. I was able to work from home, and I could have gone at one of two paths, right? I could have said, well, I don't have access to a gym, I'm just gonna sit around and all day. Or how do I make this work? And I started to build my own home gym. I started to listen to podcasts, read books, watch videos, listen to experts, and also listen to my coach, who had been telling me for years I needed to strength train. And I had been doing lots of what you would call like CrossFit style, cardio style workouts that people are familiar with. I finally focused on strength training in 2020, and I started to build muscle. I started to get healthier. I started to feel better and move better. And then into 2021, I realized that I also needed to work on my nutrition. And so I went through a similar process of reading the experts, studying the experts, and learning about flexible dieting. Rather than a rigid approach to restriction and cutting things out, I learned about a way that you could actually use in your life forever. A way that lets you choose the things you enjoy eating, but still meet your goals. So I went through all of that, went through my first transformation in my life where in the past I had struggled with my weight. And now I actually had control of my weight, my body composition, and my health. And then I started my podcast in late 2021 to share all of this great information I had learned. And that then led to coaching shortly thereafter, as listeners would reach out and say, hey, how can you help me with this? Because I like that you explain how things work, but I don't quite know what to do or how to do it myself. And that led me to coaching, and it's a passion of mine. I love this space, and that's kind of how I eventually made the transition.
Right, Philip. Now, to understand from you, that you talk about building your best body to reclaim your time and become your most capable, confident self, not only in the gym, but also overall in life. Now, the problem is that a lot of people, when you are fine, you actually just feel fine. You don't know what being not so fine is about. It is only when you are not so fine that you actually know what you have lost out on. Now, should everybody has to get to that level of having some health scare, having some difficulties in life, and then adopt the fitness routine or the healthy living routine? Or is it possible for them through your education, through your podcast, through your helping them understand that health is not just about being able to wake up, being able to do your work either from home or from office, but it is much more beyond that. How would you explain to them about that importance of reclaiming your life and becoming your most capable and confident self? Because everybody who is in a position of strength and power will think, I am confident, people salute me,
Mhm.
and I'm very powerful, I have a great designation, I work in a big company. How would you like to tell this part to them?
Yeah, that's a great question, Ajay. It has so many facets to it. And when I use the word confidence, I want everybody who's listening or watching to think about the things in their lives that they're not happy with and the things that have been holding them back. And I've rarely met someone, in fact, I don't think I've met someone who hasn't struggled with something health related in their life. It doesn't have to be disease, it doesn't have to be a major health issue. It's just something's not quite there. I don't quite move the way I want, or as I get older, I'm not as strong as I want, or my blood pressure is high. It's a universal thing being a human in the modern world. We are just not equipped to deal with sitting around and working and not having much movement or activity and having all of this abundant food everywhere. Just available at grocery stores,
Right.
available at the dinner table. So you might be confident in one area, but chances are there's other areas that health is holding you back. And so it's a universal principle, and therefore there are some universal ways to attack that, right, and to deal with it. And the way I like to work with clients, or even if you're not a client of mine, just listen to my podcast or be curious. Be curious. You're listening. People who are watching you, AJ, right? They're curious to learn and grow. And this is a marathon, not a sprint, right? We don't want quick fixes. We want mastery. And what does it take to master anything? It takes day by day by day making small choices and taking control of your situation, knowing that whatever happened in the past is whoever's fault it is or nobody's fault. It doesn't matter. You're responsible for today and you're responsible for your future. So that's what we talk about with confidence. When you know that I can put stuff in my mouth, I can move a certain way and have a certain lifestyle, and I know what the outcome is going to be, that's confidence.
Right, right. In your case, you say that you are approaching 40, so you became more conscious, and especially when you had time, because COVID was there and you had to work from home, so you started. For a lot of people who are, say, not approaching 40, who are in their say mid 20s, and they are very fit and fine, how would you like to tell them the importance of fitness and nutrition? Because this is the stage when you are in office, when you are most single perhaps, and you are eating a lot of junk food either at home or outside. So how would you like to tell them to get into a fitness regimen which is much more sustainable? Because you talk about sustainable, achieving sustainable results while enjoying your lifestyle, and the youngsters would want to understand that better.
Oh yeah, I wish I could go back in time and tell my 22-year-old self when I was full of more testosterone and just the decades ahead of me that there are changes that I could make that would work. Even people in their 20s who are quote unquote fit, there's usually something that they want. There's something more that they want. And it might be, a tighter, more muscular body, whether that's men or women. It might be the ability to be athletic and move better, or just make good food choices and not feel like you go off the rails on the weekends, or when you go to a restaurant, you don't know how to kind of manage what's going on. Or a lot of people face struggle with emotional eating, right? They use food as a way to cope. And so everyone's an individual. Everyone has their own challenges, right? Your challenge might be you don't get enough sleep. Another person's challenge is that they're not sure what to do for their workouts. So it's a whole body experience. We have to look at things like how are you moving and whether you're training, because those are extremely important to creating what Brandon DeCruz, he's a fellow coach that I know, calls the high energy flux lifestyle. The idea here is instead of dieting and restricting all the time and then not moving very much, we could actually move a lot more and strength train and then also eat more. And by eating more, we actually improve our overall health for hormones and weight management and everything else.
Right. You are a certified nutrition coach and you are a body composition expert. And in today's time, a lot of people either eat a lot, and many of them don't eat correctly? How would you like to tell them? Because a lot of people, are so accustomed to junk food,
Hmm.
they are lazy. Sometimes it is very difficult to do what they want. So, and the biggest problem is to just get started, because the first step is the most difficult step. How did you start with that journey? What would you like to tell the people to get started with that first step? How can they make it possible? Maybe afterwards it all becomes a bit more easier when they start seeing the results.
Yeah, I mean, I know you said, people are lazy, and I tend to not use labels with folks, right? Because we all get into habits, we get into our routines, and many of us are hardworking people. We have businesses, we take care of our families, we have hobbies, and our lives are busy and we're productive, but we may not give the priority we need to food.
Yeah, you are
Yeah,
right. In
yeah.
fact, I got lazy in using the lazy word.
Oh, it's okay. No, no. Yeah,
I
yeah,
admit that. In fact,
yes.
people work very hard, and that is perhaps you get to work hard so much that you get a bit tend to take the other things a bit more,
Yeah, absolutely.
in that
and,
stride.
and
Yeah,
and maybe because you're such a hard worker, you don't have the time or the even thought process of what you're eating, and you just go to the quickest thing for energy. So the transition is a mental one. It's from one of fuel of food as a way to kind of manage our weight or something like that, to food as fuel, right? To food as fuel. If we're able to move more, and by moving I don't mean running, I don't mean cardio, I mean just walking and being up more throughout the day and not just sitting around all day, um, moving more throughout the day. If we do that, if we lift weights, because to me, lifting weights should be in everyone's repertoire, no matter who you are, no matter your age. It is so important for the human body to place load on ourselves so that we stay strong. If you do those, guess what happens? Your body's going to crave the right kinds of food and fuel. And then you have to get some education about what those are. So I don't believe in good versus bad foods, whole versus clean versus dirty foods. I believe for a sustainable lifestyle, you should be able to eat whatever you want, but you have to understand how that serves your goals. So when I work with clients, we learn about something called flexible dieting, which is understanding how many calories you burn so that we know what the calorie level should be, and then also understanding macronutrients, proteins, fats, and carbs. Once you understand what those do for your body and then set the right targets for you, you then choose whatever foods you want that are out there that satisfy that. So protein, for example, most people don't get enough protein, and protein is important for your muscles. It's important for feeling full, and it actually burns more calories. Carbs. There are a lot of low carb diets today, right? There's keto, there's carnivore, uh, paleo, but carbs are really important for energy and recovery, especially if you're strength training. And then fats are also important for energy and hormones. So once you get the right balance of those, if I said, AJ, I want you to eat 150 grams of carbs every day, or 150 grams of protein every day, I'm guessing you probably have a lot less than that right now. And to make that shift, you're going to have to start choosing different things. You're going to say, okay, I need to eat more. Well, are you vegetarian or not? If you're vegetarian, I need to eat more rice and beans and sources of protein, plants that have protein. If you are octo-lacto vegetarian, where you could eat eggs and dairy, then that's another good source of carbs. And then if you eat meat, of course, meat is kind of the easiest source to get for, not carbs, for protein. So that's how we get to food quality choices. And then you still have room for a little bit of junk food, a little bit of things you like, a glass of wine, a beer, some pizza in like the 10 to 20% of your diet.
right, right, Philip. You talk of mistakes people make when trying to improve their health and body composition. What do you mean by that?
What did I say? What was that?
You talk of biggest mistake people make when trying to improve their health and body composition. Help us understand this part about health and body composition, because for me I don't understand it the way you would perhaps explain to me. For me it's like body is body, and I see it one thing as a whole.
Sure. I think if I were to pick one thing that most people are missing, it would be strength.
Okay.
Strength meaning lifting weights, which it's not just for muscle. Okay, being stronger. Here's what happens as you age, from the age of like say 25 to the age of 45. and then from 45 to 75, the amount of muscle you lose increases exponentially. You lose so much muscle. And this explains why when you look at older people who are in their 70s and 80s, they look frail. They might be hunched over from osteoporosis or osteopenia. They easily get fractures when they fall. They have to go to, they just don't have the strength. Maybe they even have trouble getting off the toilet. I mean, it's really bad. If we want to avoid that, lifting weights, whatever age you are now, get started. Will put the stimulus on your body that tells your muscle, tells your body, hey, I actually need these muscles. So I'm going to take the nutrients coming in and help rebuild and grow those muscles every time you lift weights that are heavier and heavier. That then leads to a variety of health improvements. I mean, it's incredible, AJ. If you looked at the research on the correlation between strength and health markers, it's one of the biggest variables you can possibly imagine, right? So we're talking about avoiding prediabetes and metabolic syndrome. We're talking about keeping your blood pressure low. We're talking about having better movement and joint health. We're talking about stronger bones. We're talking about more regulated hormones. And here's the best thing, AJ, you could eat more food. When you build strength and muscle, you increase your metabolism because your muscles are like a sink for energy. And now you could eat more food. So anybody who works with me, if they're not strength training already, you bet that they will be strength training.
Okay. And now the problem is that, we keep on getting, as individuals, we keep on getting information from all across newspapers, televisions, even podcasts, and a lot of things on the internet, and especially in terms of diets. There are so many types of diets that you meet a friend, something has worked for them, somebody is following something else, and you get confused. How do I make sure that I'm choosing the right sort of a diet that is helping me for my for living a good life for myself? How did you choose before? How do you choose now?
Right.
How can somebody choose the best for themselves in these times of too many diets at the moment?
Yeah, for sure. That's a great question. My own personal story is similar to so many others in that for years I thought that I needed to be told that this is what you eat and what you don't eat. Whether that was through a specific diet like Atkins back in the day, or keto, or whatever's popular now, or even Weight Watchers or something like that, or whether it was through a meal plan, like, hey, eat exactly this. Well, what the science shows, ever since they've conducted studies on this in the mid 90s, is that a rigid diet, which is one where you're told what to eat or what not to eat, leads to a loss of control. Meaning, because you don't have any agency or choice, you end up eventually just binging and getting off the diet and emotionally eating. You can't manage your weight, right? And it's not sustainable. That's the reason it doesn't work. You might hear a friend that says, I did keto and I lost 40 pounds. And then a year later, what happened? What happened? What happened? Because 95% of people regain all their weight within 5 years. Okay. And the approach then I learned to take eventually, and that I take with clients now, is a flexible approach, not a moral judgment on your food. There's no food that's good or bad. Going back to earlier, what I was saying with flexible dieting of your calories and macros, we choose what works for you. And that's what it comes down to, AJ, is the only sustainable diet is the one that works for you, that you can live on for the rest of your life.
Right. The only when we talk of sustainable diet, we also let's talk about sustainability, because sometimes, in today's time, like you see, earlier there were just two sets of people. One was the vegetarian, and then there was non-vegetarian. You have visited India, so there are a lot of vegetarians in India. But then something called vegan diet came in, and now there is so much of talk about plant-based diet.
Sure.
And then with the egg prices in the US at the moment on a very high level, and that there is so much of talk around that. How do you maintain that sort of, what would you say, which diet is best? And now, in terms of, forget about the keto diet or any other diet, but in terms of vegetarian diet, because why I ask this is because in India, a lot of people are vegetarians. And one of the big problems they find is when they travel to other countries, especially countries which do not have too much of choices for vegetarian diet. What would you tell people who are who have vegetarian diet? Are they missing down on something by not being non-veg or vegan? How do they take forward their strength training as
Yeah.
well as that nutrition part together?
Yeah, exactly. So if I'm going to assume that if you're a vegetarian or vegan, you're making that choice for some specific reason that maybe goes beyond the typical dieting reasons. I'm going to assume that, right? Because for some people it's cultural, some people it's religious, some people it's ethical concerns about animal welfare. There's all sorts of reasons that's totally cool. Um, on any diet you can thrive. You can thrive on any diet if you have the minimum amount of nutrients, the right macronutrient ratios, and all of those things to satisfy your goals. So take a vegetarian, for example. I've worked with vegetarians. Again, they usually also eat eggs and dairy, which helps with protein. But let's say you're vegan. The biggest challenge there is getting enough protein and getting enough of the amino acids and B vitamins that are found in animal sources. So you have to supplement in that case, right? If you're vegan, meaning no eggs, no dairy, nothing from an animal. So protein is the key there. So in that case, you're probably going to have to supplement with a plant-based protein powder, for example, and have protein shakes along with your real food. Otherwise, you're going to have to eat a lot of beans, a lot of rice, a lot of legumes and tofu and all of that. If you are vegetarian, that gives you options with eggs. Eggs are wonderful. Egg whites are pure protein. And then, of course, the egg yolk is good for dietary cholesterol and fat. And then the dairy is excellent. So I like dairy as a snack throughout my day. So I usually eat meat as part of my main meals, but then I'll use dairy or grains that have high protein, like oats, for example, or quinoa, as a snack. So dairy would be things like cottage cheese and Greek yogurt. I'm not including cheese in there because cheese is mostly fat, right? Even though we love cheese. But Greek yogurt, cottage cheese, and milk even are good sources of protein. So you can do whatever you can eat anything, AJ, as long as it meets those general requirements for nutrients and macro balance.
Right. Now, in terms of strength training and training at a gym, a lot of people believe that they want to go to a gym, but they are not too comfortable with a lot of weight training. How would you like to tell them that are there options beyond that, beyond weight training, that can build their strength? Because I personally, if you ask me, I would like to pick weights, but maybe not too much of it. There are many people like me, for whatever reasons, or even for health reasons. Many people may have problems in holding too much of weight. What would you like to give them as an option to create better strength for themselves?
Well, let me ask you, AJ, why don't you like the idea of lifting heavy weights?
That is maybe I don't know. You feel like doing everything else, but maybe pulling, lifting a lot of those weights mentally. Maybe it's mental. You can
There you
say
go.
your
Yes.
jobs, right?
Yes, mental. So I'm glad you said that, right? Because sometimes we just don't have the experience. And a lot of people who've gone to the gym over the years maybe have had bad experiences with the culture there or the style of weightlifting, or they don't quite know what to do, or they've been told, you need to do, there's all these circuit machines and you need to do all these weight reps and you end up sweating and it just sounds like torture. So the way I like to work out with new clients is a very basic program with what's called the compound lifts. So the big lifts. This would be like the back squat, the bench press, deadlift. Very simple, but allows you to lift heavy. Now, when you start on day one, it's not going to be that heavy. We're going to start at something that you can actually accomplish, right? Where you can accomplish, say, 3 sets of 5 repetitions, for example. And you're going to find that there's a lot of rest period. And you're going to find that you only have to work out 3 days a week and you still have fantastic results. But the key is to do it effectively. So effective means heavy enough for you to give stimulus to your muscles to grow. And then each time you go to the gym and do that workout, do that exercise, you go up in weight. Okay, you go up in weight or reps. So a lot of people do the same thing over and over. They're not going to get stronger that way. You definitely have to load your body somehow to get stronger, AJ. You have to. Now, you could do it through bands or maybe body weight exercises, but after a little bit of that, your strength surpasses the ability for those to give you the load. And then you have to go to free weights like barbells or dumbbells or machines.
Right. Right, Philip. So who is your best sort of a client? Who any particular age group or anybody can come to you? What are the type of people who come to you,
Mhm.
or who are the type of people who can come to you?
My favorite clients are the curious clients who want to learn. Because if you're curious and you want to learn and you apply yourself, you are gonna get such incredible results in as little as 3 to 6 months because you're open to it, because you're curious. If you seek out a coach and then your attitude is, I kind of already know what to do, or I want to do it my way, or you simply don't take action, you're not going to have the results. So a coach can't make you do things, right? AJ, if I'm your coach, I can't make you do the things, but I can give you the best roadmap. I can give you the guidance, the tools, the evidence, and all of the, and the accountability. I could be there like, hey AJ, how'd your workout go today? Hey AJ, how are we doing on our macros? And track everything to get you there. So curiosity, learning, growth mindset are big winners for me.
Right. Curiosity. Earlier they used to say curiosity kill the cat, but I'm sure for humans it is different. It will certainly build their strength, both body and mind. So how do people connect with you, Philip?
I would just download my podcast, honestly, the Wits and Weights podcast. Since you're already listening to, since you already listen to the KAJ here, listen to the Wits and Weights podcast, and then you could also go to my website if you like, witsandweights.com.
Right, right. My last question to you, Philip, is that the earlier part of life without so much of exercise, but now you have not only exercised for yourself, now you help others
Yes.
plan their mastery of body and mind. So, what is it that you look forward to the later part of your life with so much of understanding about the body composition as well as about nutrition? What is it that you want to seek for yourself? What is it that you want to give to others?
Oh, so good. So this is like the legacy. What is my legacy? So for personally, I want to, by the time I'm 95, to still be able to do a deadlift. I mean, to still be able to be strong, and somebody to say, "Well, you actually look 65. I didn't know you were 95," and to avoid all of the issues with health that I see my grandparents, my in-laws, and others go through when they get older. And guess what that does? That fulfilling, strong life allows me to help people. So I have to be an example and set that example, but it also gives me the ability when I'm 60, 70, 80, potentially to still be sharing this knowledge and helping people. And I am also curious, so I'm going to constantly learn and grow. And if the evidence changes, I'm going to change with it.
Wonderful, wonderful. It's nice to talk to a techie who is not talking about chat GPT, but talking about curiosity of a different kind. And I'm sure with this sort of a training for yourself and training for others, you will certainly keep your intelligence alive till the time you are there on this planet. And whether chat GPT remains or not, even artificial remains there or not. On this positive note and an intelligent note, it's a wrap on this very special edition of the KJ Masterclass Live. Thank you so much indeed for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me. It was a pleasure.